threats are generally included in the non-traditional security threat. In the non-traditional security threat, there is no common specific threats which are included, specific threats, unlike the traditional one. So after the Cold War, or after the end of the Cold War, we have been facing a lot of issues, especially disintegrations of the Soviet Union. A lot of people have, and we are started facing this one repeat pace of climate change, stateless people, or climate-induced migrations, or other pandemics. Recently, we have faced this one, COVID-19, one of the classic examples about the non-traditional security threats. In this context, after giving all this brief, here one of the main school which is proposed, or which is the pioneer for the non-traditional security threat, is we used to call as Copenhagen schools. In this Copenhagen school, there are three main scholars. One is we have already those who are from the political science background may aware, Oli Over, Amitabh Acharya, and Barry Bujans. These scholars are the pioneer for pushing or for trying to break the boundary of the traditional security threats in human civilization or in the social science. So in this theory also, another sub-theory is called, another theory is called Space Act theory. I'm going to explain that theory in the later part of my lecture. The main context is why we are so important about this non-traditional security, or we used to call as NTS, in South Asia. South Asia, as we already aware, it's more like a continent. In this South Asia, let's say India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, and other countries are having the same feature geographically, population, and so on and so forth, just like the continents. So this is a very complex and diverse regions. And in these regions, most of the countries they got their independence, especially from the British Empire in the late 1940s. Especially India got independent in 1947. So they have a lot of conflict in terms of the military, in terms of the security threats. But as a human being, we need to look from the human security rather than military security. That's one of the main proponent for the non-traditional security studies. So in this slide, I would like to share some ideas. What are the threats that we have been facing in South Asia? As in my PPT, I have already given mapping NTS threat in South Asia. Before giving all this threat, I would like to give you some example. Those who are aspiring or those who are doing researchers, NTS are so popular, especially in the 21st century. Because of this one, we are facing a lot of this one boundary dispute, and even we are having a lot of populations, this one stateless populations in South Asia. The first and the foremost one is climate, environmental and climate security. Why this point? Why I'm giving put in the first point, environmental and climate security? The one of the foremost reason is when we look from the Indian perspective or overall in South Asian perspective, more or less our boundaries are covered by Indian oceans. In the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, almost more than maximum portions are covered by Indian oceans. So, and each and every day we have been facing a lot of increase of this one sea level because of the ice melting. So I have already given rising sea level, extreme weather events. We have so many tsunamis used to be happen in the Bay of Bengal regions. And when you look from the small other perspective, for example, especially this climate security or environmental threat, it used to be faced, especially in Bangladesh. One of the main reason is, and when you look here, this Bangladesh, and in India also we have some regions in Odisha and Kerala. These regions, day by day, they are submerging their land areas. And the second point is migration and stateless, cross-border migrations and refugee crisis. Even though India is one of the emerging global superpower, or we used to call as the global South superpower. Having said that, still we do not have any refugee policy, or even we do not sign still United Nations conventions on migrations or refugee. We have two conventions under the United Nations, still we do not sign. And when we talk about this cross-border migration to refugee, India, it's more or less right now we have 1.42 billions. In these billions, most of the people still countless. For example, when we look from the Northeast perspective or Northeast regions, in some report, it used to say around 16 lakhs stateless or this one migrant, or we should call as Bengali speaking people are settling or having already settled in Assam. And here I would like to give one example. I am using this one stateless and this one migration. Those who migrate without any proper documents. For example, if we want to go in other countries, UK or USA, we need proper document. For example, visa or proper channels. Without having any that kind of the government document, if you cross the border, that means this you are going to be considered as that this one refugee or migrant peoples, illegally migrant peoples. In this illegally migrant people also there are a lot of classified this one within the illegal migration also. Here one of the important we have been facing is cross-border migrations or refugee crisis because of this climate induced. For example, one of the classic example about this climate-induced or environmental issue is Baraka Barrage. Because of the construction of the Baraka Barrage, a lot of people used to migrate from Bangladesh to India, and they do not have that kind of the proper documents. That's why I used here the term statelessness. Statelessness means any citizens who already migrate, but they do not have their proper documents from their origin country or origin states, and they are already entered in the host state. In this context, we may consider India as a host states. The third point is health security. Why the health security is so important in the 21st century is whenever we look from the security threats, most of the time we do not consider health as a threat. For example, during the COVID-19, and we have a lot of this one with health infrastructures. During this time, we used to consider health not as a national security, rather than it's a normal this one security, normal as an this one normal health checkup or normal health this one inquiry, rather than as a national this one outlook. So during the COVID-19, even though India, I mean, to some extent, to great extents, we already managed COVID-19 in great extents. Having said that, if we look from the security perspective, we can consider such kind of the threats in the future also in a very minimalistic manpower. And the fourth point is transnational crime. In this transnational crime, India is one of the best bypass routes or lifeline for drug trafficking, terrorism, or human trafficking. So in this context, we have already India or in South Asia, especially in India, India is lying between the Golden Triangle and Golden Crescents. Golden Triangle and Golden Crescent are so infamous in global context because of the opium productions. And the last, this one, security threats we are or we have been facing in South Asia in food and water security. Having said it, in the Mother Earth, we have more than 90%, more than this one, we have roughly 0 point something that are usable in water. Even though we are having so many waters, we are not that kind of accessible or that kind of this one, natural waters and food also. India is also producing large quantities of the food in terms of the rice, wheat, and so on and so forth. But we don't have that kind of the capacities or manpower to restore for future course. That's why at the same time, it also creates security threat. But all these points having explained, I will to bring from the context how it's trying to create as a security threat in international relations or this one, South Asia. One of the main point important in order to bring any threat as a security threat is I have already that one shared the term called concept called speech act theory. So in any this one issue or any threats we after using that means speech act theory in a simple language is any issue if we explain that kind of the threat as a security threat, and in order to bring that threat as a national security threat we need popularize that kind of idea through the medium of government leader or politicians whenever they started, because they have that kind of the this one mass base and they have the ability to communicate to the global leaders. For example, in states head or a government head, it may be the prime minister, it may be the chief minister of states, if they started giving that kind of a threat, for example, this migration is clear before coming to a notice. For example, in the migration also in this one, the Minister of Home Affairs already notified that in India we have a lot of illegal migrants from the Bangladesh. After giving that kind of information again and again to the media, to the social media, it may be through interactions. After that, people aware or people have that kind of acknowledgement that that kind of the people, they do not have that kind of proper channel or proper document, they may create security threat in our life. After that, the government of India or under the Ministry of Home Affairs, they already give instructions to the every state government, especially in the police department, to verify all that kind of people. Why? That means one politician or one this one leader already give that kind of instruction again and again. After that, the state missionary already give instructions to the common people, then common people aware or common people consume that kind of information through newspaper, through TV discussion, through academic forum. After that, they accepting or they acknowledging that kind of the threat as a security threat in the national context. After giving all these brief ideas about this one non-traditional security and traditional security theory and what are the threats in South Asia, the main discussion in my topic is I would like to bring in Northeast India. Why? One of the reason why I try to bring case study in Northeast India is one of the thing is I have already my first in-hand experience in East India, and the other one is when you look from the non-traditional security threats, there are a lot of multiple so this one threats that already I have explained in my this one lecturer that's going to more or less relates all that example in Northeast India. One of the first example is Northeast India having unique geographical and ethnic diversity. It has porous boundary and most of the population they have very ethnically diversified. So we can't club into single thing. And all the environment or international border, it's more or less bounded by four international boundary: Bhutan, Nepal, China, and Bangladesh. And most of the this one small ethnic groups used to be settled in Northeast India. For example, when I give example in the context of Northeast, or for example, in specific case study is Manipur and this one Assam. In Manipur, we have more than 35 government recognized tribes, and in Assam also there are a lot of tribes, and especially in the Northeast, Manipur and Assam are the classic example when we study or when we talk about non-traditional security threats. So environmental degradations and climate induced displacement that already happening in Assam and Manipur. When we talk about climate induced displacement or environmental degradations. So we have that one Brahmaputra River in Assam. It passed through Arunachal and Assam. In Arunachal, we used to call there's one called Brahmaputra Valley. It's an every year we have a lot of more than this one 50,000 already climately induced because of the unforeseeable the flood and other factors. And this one climate environmental degradation also. Those who have already aware this environmental degradation is one of the classic example is Mosiram. Mosiram in Meghalaya. It's the wettest region in the world. It's now no more the wettest region in the world. And in Manipur also, I think in the recent government report, most of the hilly area in Manipur, more than 90% are in the hilly regions and 10% in the valley. And most of the hilly area, we used to have that kind of unforeseeable or unpredictable drought and flood each and every year. In the last 2 years, we have faced more than three droughts and floods at the same time. The third point is cross-border migrations and identity-based conflict. So this cross-border migration and identity-based conflict, why this cross-border migration and identity-based conflict? It used to be normally happen in Northeast India since the post-independent India. One of the main reason is before the before getting independent in 1947, most of the Northeast India, we do not have that kind of modern nation state called boundary. The Northeast, we do not have that kind of boundary because of the independence. We have already boundary with this one, Bangladesh, and a lot of the in the Bangladesh also there are a lot of Hindu and even other small communities, especially Manipuri and Manipuri Muslim. They already settled there, and there already a lot of this one conflict already happening and still going on in Bangladesh. That's why they have to push that kind of peoples to the better place. And not only the South Asia, when we talk about this Southeast Asia, especially in Bangladesh also, the main one of the group of people or the larger group is Rohingya. That's already migrated through Northeast and identity-based conflict. I have already said in Manipur also we have more than 30 recognized tribes. In Assam, in Arunachal, it's more than 30, more than I think 32 or 3 exact, I forget the number, governmentally recognized tribes. So because of their small identity base, there are a lot of conflict is still going on. Some of the group of the people, they try to achieve their kind of nations. And some of the group of the people, they are trying to do separatist movements. And in this context, I will try to relate the fourth point, insurgency, trafficking, and porous border. How this insurgency, trafficking, and porous border try to relate non-traditional security. Because I have already explained, we have a lot of ethnic, small ethnic groups in Northeast India, and most of the ethnic group, whatever happening in the Northeast is it may be different factor, it may be political, it may be the economic factor, lot of factor. All that factor may be utilized by the other external force. It may be the Chinese or whatever the external force. In this force, in order to achieve their idea or their political ambitions, and they are trying to exploit human as a tool or as a means. At the same time, we do not have that proper border. For example, the government of India recently already completed 10 kilometers in More area. But what about the large portions of the borders? And having that completed in the Myanmar and in the Bangladesh and Myanmar sides, we have BSF. In the BSF already got India, Bangladesh border, and India, Myanmar, we have Assam Rifle, and India, Nepal, and Bhutan, we have Indo-Tibetan border police force. All that force also can't go that terrain area and very extreme terrain area. And all these terrain area, all that insurgents or separatist groups, they are exploiting all that resources. For example, in Manipur, poppy cultivations. Earlier, we used to call as the Golden Triangle. Golden Triangle is Myanmar, Vietnam, and this Cambodia or Laos. Nowadays, most of the political scientists or social scientists started using the term called quadrilateral because it's already included Manipur and Bangladesh. When you look any government documents, it's an every day we the this one NCV or Manipur police or the Mizoram police or Assam police, they used to seize a lot of drugs in Northeast India. And all these drugs used to for insurgent or separatist group. And in this context, I will give you two classic example when you talk about the Northeast. One is Assam and one is Manipur. In Assam, I will try to bring that one migration issues. Under the Supreme Court guidelines, we have already this one to some extent filtered out, or we have already implemented that one census or the reports did in Assam. And in the report, we have more than 90 lakh people already, they become non-Indian citizens. So after that, we have already bring Citizen Amendment Act. In the Citizen Amendment, irrespective of that one religious lines, when you look from the national security threat also, in Assam, we have already accepted more than 16 lakhs people. So how in the Assam context, trying to bring that non-traditional or migration as a security states, irrespective of the political affiliation or ideology here, I would like to bring how that kind of migrant people become a threat. One of the example is the present chief minister trying to bring migrant people as a security threat. And when we look from the threats, they used to involve in the this one drug trafficking or arms smuggling. When I did my PhD, this one Phil, I stay more than 30 days in Assam. So in that Assam, especially in Kokrasar area, so I went to the Dhubri district. In the Dhubri district, it's we should call as mini Bangladesh. Why that Dhubri district as a mini Bangladesh? So here I interact with civil society organizations, activists, and student union and professors. And one of the why they use the term called mini Bangladesh, or some people are trying to achieve greater Bangladesh in this context, is most of the people, those who have already migrated from Bangladesh. And all these people in course of time, they having large populations, and after that they do not have that kind of the prosperity, or they do not have that kind of opportunity that already available in India, unlike the Bangladesh. So that's their survival. They in order to survive, they have to do any means. In order to this one survive, they started creating a lot of ethnic conflicts, social tensions. One of the classic example that happened in 2012, or we should call as Crocodile riots. So when I interact both the side victim or the Bangladeshi or the this one Muslim side or Bodo people, those who have native or indigenous Muslim, those are already settled in Kokarjar or the Dubri district, they already acknowledge, irrespective of their religious lines. So a lot of people already migrated, and they started creating social chaos, social tensions. And how all the people aware, that's already before that incident, Kokaza riot 2012, most of the social activist leader already give informations and social awareness or social campaigns. We have to have that kind of security, this one, backup or social security. And most of the time, administrations also, they do not realize whatever the input fed by the activists or social scientists or this one student union or this one civil society groups. So in course of time, that incident already happens. At the same time, in Manipur context also, in Manipur since no, since May 3rd, 2022, we have already going, or some social scientists used to call it a ethnic conflict, or this one between the two community, Maite or Muslim. It's already happening. But here, as a political scientist, as a foreign this one researchers, I would like to bring another perspective is in Myanmar. Myanmar is not a stable state. And after getting independence from British, lot of this one military coup again, this one democracy, so and so forth, it's happening. So especially after that military coup in 2021, a lot of people already migrated in Manipur. One of the official record, it says more than 50,000, but it's subject to corrections. So when I did this one field work in Manipur also, I have faced a lot of this one discussion or new insights in Manipur is that those who are living, especially that one hilly areas. So in Manipur also we have roughly four this one community. One is Naga, or one is Kuki, and one is Meitei, and the other one is Meitei Pangal or Manipuri Muslim. So when I interact all of them, so they started giving that kind of information. Having as a human being, we need to give protections, but from when you look from the security threat or national security perspective, they are illegal migrants. So after this one settling in this forest area, and most of the illegal migrants, they used to settle especially forest area and this one grassland area. So after that, in order to their survives, most of the people, or irrespective of their community, some of the people already started involving poppy cultivations also for their survivals. So that poppy cultivations used to support for the separatists or insurgent, and we have already boundary with Myanmar, and Myanmar, it's become the largest poppy this one productions country presently. And within the Myanmar also there is a state called San States. San State, it has its own army. That army used to protect all that activities, that illegal activities. And for that illegal activities, especially through that, all that money used to pump up for their activities. And all that activities are trying to have that kind of the collateral damage or domino effect in the northeast regions. And how this threat trying to bring national security threat is recently the one of the minister from the Mizoram government already clarified or already expressed in media that most of the this one issues or social tension or social conflict that happen in Myanmar are used to involve from those who have already migrated from Myanmar. And in Manipur also, when you look from the Ministry of Home Affairs report or NCB reports, you will find a lot of that kind of informations. And because of the some ethical issue, I don't want to share some that one informations in my this one research work. And here in South Asia or international relations or in social science, how we are trying to bring that kind of the security threats in the 21st century in order to bring maintain. Because in the traditional security threat, one of the issues still we are not able to cope up or we are not able to tackle this security threat in the 21st century is when you look that kind of security threat in maybe refugee crisis or illegal migration or poppy cultivations or climate change, we try to look from the state-centric approach. State-centric approach, that means the concept of the modern states. We are going to have that kind of fixed boundary and its citizens, and we are trying to look from that perspective also. But all these non-traditional security threats used to be transnational or transboundary in nature. When you look about these poppy cultivations, when you look about this climate change, when you look refugee, all these issues, all these threats are transnational or transboundary in natures. So that kind of the prism, especially that realist perspective, traditional security, not able to tackle or not able to resolve that issue. That's why still we are having a lot of issues in the present day context. So one of the way or for what we can we try to resolve is regional cooperations. Or in my lecture, I'm going to focus especially in South Asia. One of the good case study is SAC or BIMSTEC mechanisms. All these associations are regional in natures. Other one is strengthening disaster preparedness and climate adaptations. But when you go through any government official data, for example, from the Indian context, we have already national climate policy in 2008. But when you go through all that report or government policy, you would hardly find the term called security threats. They are looking as a policy rather than looking from the security threats. And third point is inclusive health and migration policies. So those who are already migrated or those who are going to migrate, in our country or in our neighboring countries. We are looking still from that kind of state-centric. So when we look from the state-centric, we can't resolve. And even the great country, or we used to call the great, the USA also under the this one present regime under Donald Trump, they already started constructing boundary in the Mexico and USA. After that construction also, they can't stop. But how we are trying to resolve that issue? That's one of the main questions raised by the non-traditional security threats. And the fourth point is intelligence sharing and joint actions on transnational crimes. Here, I have already used the two terms transnational or transboundary in nature. There or this kind of threat are transnational and transboundary in nature. That's why we need to sharing intelligence inputs and joint actions because of these transnational crimes and empowering local governance and community service. Here, I will give you one example is one of the some scholars like the Amitabh Acharya or the very Bizan, still they are saying that we need to look beyond that security threat. For example, still we are having a lot of illegal migrants from Myanmar, especially the Rohingya people. We can't push that people in Indian Ocean also. We can't throw them in Indian Ocean also. In order to resolve that issue, we need to work hand to hand with Myanmar government or with Bangladesh governments. After having good policy framework, when we are trying to formulate that framework, also we need to consult all these stakeholders rather than that pure state-centric. When you give that kind of informations and mechanism with other countries and the other countries also vice versa, after that we can resolve all that issue. And in this non-traditional security also, having said that, we can't also resolve that kind of 100% also, but as compared to the traditional, in large extents, we can at least tackle all that issue in this 21st century. So without having that proper governance or proper coordinations with Myanmar, we can't push back to all that Rohingya people to Myanmar, or even in the Assam context also, we can't push all that people to the Bangladesh because Bangladesh already said that they are not our citizens. And Indian context also, they do not have that kind of proper documents. So that's why they become the stateless people. But in the 21st century, how, when you look from the human perspective or human security, how that people become a stateless. But in order to resolve or to reduce that kind of the security threats, we need to have proper this one mechanism through collaborations and coordinations. That's one of the or the most important this one put recommendations by the non-traditional security experts. So having said that, in the conclusion, I would like to bring some idea is we need to redefine the concept of security. So before this one, all that non-traditional security threat, still most of the policy experts in our country, we are still looking from the very myopic, that kind of the state-centric security threats, that kind of the perspective, until and unless if we do not move beyond that kind of the myopic nature, we are going to face the same security threat and we are going to increase more and more. And I have also already said that these security threats are interconnected and require cooperative regional responses. When you look from that one, stateless or illegal migrant people. So a lot of the illegal migrant people, they used to involve this one, arms smuggling, drug trafficking, human trafficking. So these security threats are complex in nature and are interconnected. That's why we require cooperative regional responses. And we need to move that kind of the notion, modern state concept, that kind of fixed boundary, geographical boundary. And the last point is non-traditional security and is very critical for sustainable peace and development. Because in human civilization or in the human civilization, everyone wants to peace. That peace, it should be sustainable. And development, that development also, it should be sustainable development without having that kind of the knee-jerk reaction policy mainly put forward by the traditional security experts, we need to look from the sustainable peace and sustainable development perspective. That's why in the 21st century or in the present context of South Asia, we need to look all the threat, especially from the non-traditional security threats. Thank you. So
Thank
if you
you
have
so
any
much,
question,
Mr.
please
Singh. Yeah,
raise.
we
Mm,
have a couple of questions in the chat box.
mhm,
So I'll read them out for you and you can answer one by one. Meanwhile, I would request others, if there's any question, please
mm,
drop it in the chat box.
mm.
So I see someone has raised his or her hand. So if you can just drop the question in the chat box, it will be easier for us to attend to. Okay,
So
so with that, the first question is, with water scarcity becoming a critical issue, could competition over shared river basins become a non-traditional security flashpoint?
So it's very interesting. Still, currently also I am doing one research on this one non-traditional security, especially water basin. So here, one of the good or unique example is about Bangladesh. Sorry, Brahmaputra River. So already we have securitized issue is Indus Valley. So Indus Valley,
Someone has also
uh,
asked question related to that. Maybe we can take that up as the next one. Yeah,
okay, okay, okay.
please.
So especially this on water security or water scarcity and that river, I will try to fluff that answer. So
Mhm.
in this water river or what this one is water scarcity or to some extent river. So we have two different example. One we can look from this Indus River. Other example is from Brahmaputra. So in this river, it's already securitized since 1960 under the World Bank. We have already have agreements with Bangladesh, with Pakistan and India since 1960. So based on that policy, we are sharing recently, but recently because of the this one Palagam terror attack, we have already unilaterally this one withdraw from that treaty. That's very this one unfortunate incidents. Before that, we already securitized that kind of the river. So we have already in what season, in what time, or in what month we are going to share rivers that one water to to Pakistan's and what kind of quantity we are going to use. And in that river also we have six trees in India and trees in Pakistan. In contrast with that, this one Brahmaputra, still we do not have that kind of the bilateral or multilateral treaty with China with respect to Brahmaputra rivers. So recently this one mother of all dam already this one constructed or already is going to start by China. But from the Indian context, so we do not have that kind of the preparedness. For example, India is in the middle riparian and China is in the upper riparian river and Bangladesh is the lower. So if one of the this one argument put forward by the China is they are going to use that dam is for their this one development or this agriculture perspective, and that dam is three times larger than George Dam, and that's why it used to call as the mother of all dam. But from the Indian context, if you gone through the this one speech by the late Manmohan Singh or the current Chief Minister of Assam, still we are not securitizing that concept, and we are trying to give that kind of a threat as a normal. So if they are going to construct, if they completed the construction, so India is the middle. And that incident already happened in last 2021. So in the this one, if you've gone through any literature, you'll find in Arunachal, they have started water scarcity and that kind of water, this one, dirty, already found in Arunachal area. So they are going to use that water as a deterrent or in the water hydro diplomacy they are going to use as a water this one deterrent, and we are in the this one lower riparian states and China is upper, they can use as a tool. But how we are trying to bring, so one is they can China can create at the same time floods, at the same time they also can make the situation of water scarcity in India. So especially that it's going to happen in Assam. Assam is more or less totally depend on Brahmaputra and Bangladesh also. That's why when you look from that security, So how we are trying to, how, I mean, we can bring Brahmaputra from the national security threats. So after all, they are going to construct, they already constructed already completed three or four dams. Okay, subject to correction, the number of dams. So already have. So that if they completed their construction of the mother of dam, then how we are going to tackle? So we do not have any bilateral, we do not have any multilateral agreements with China also. That's why these non-threatening security threats, that means transnational and transboundary in nature. So we need to have good coordinations and cooperations with our neighboring countries. That's, I think, that one answer for that one, river and water scarcity.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Mm.
With that, I'll move on to the next question. Given the porous borders and asymmetric power structures of South Asia, how can migration governance in the AFPAC region be reframed from a sovereignty-focused approach to a shared regional responsibility model, particularly in addressing the protracted displacement of Afghan migrants in India?
Uh, so in the present context, this one in South Asia, India is one of the lucky here we still this one having democracy. So other South Asian country, they do not have that kind of democracy, or we used to call Pakistan is a rogue states, and Afghanistan also already under the rule of the Taliban, and a lot of people already started this one migrated or started migrations from the Afghanistan to other countries and Pakistan also. But here your question is asymmetric power structure of South Asia and how can migration governance in the this Afghan power region can be framed from the sovereignty approach. Here, that's the main point argument put forward by the NTS experts. We are having that asymmetric power relations. So when you look from the asymmetric power relations, it's okay, fine. We are having asymmetric power relations in terms of the population, in terms of the nuclear power, or in terms of the economic. But when you look that kind of sovereignty, that means state-centric. So you are going to look from the sovereign perspective, that means more or less you are going to look from the state-centric approach. That means traditional. But how you are going to tackle? So in Afghanistan, is now controlled under the Taliban. And in Pakistan also having their popular government, but more or less controlled by the military. That one controlled by military. So that kind of the, in that situation also we, I mean, we don't need to look that kind of the traditional approach. That's why still we are not able to resolve that issue. So, but in this context, I will try to this one add, but it's not related with in this lecture. One is nowadays in the academic vocabulary is decoloniality about this Western perspective. Clear. So whenever when we look any this sovereignty focused approach, or whenever look any conflict or migration, we are trying to look from the prism of the Western countries. Whatever the situation that already happened in the Western countries, we are trying to bring that kind of policy or that kind of idea in our country. We are having a lot of difference, this one, population, society. So we need to look that kind of the ideas also. We need to look from the our perspective. In that way, we can at least reduce that kind of issue that already happened in this Afghan area.
Thank you. Next question relates more to the northeastern region. So, how can better connectivity projects in the northeast balance development needs with the risk of increasing illicit trade or trafficking?
So in this, when we talk about the Northeast, this one development, we have, I think, already have Act East policy. So it started from 1992. We used to call as Look East policy, and it's converted or revamped in 2014 as a Act East policy. And Northeast India, Northeast region is connected through Chicken Neck. It's roughly around 21 or 22 kilometers. And having we have already a lot of infrastructure or economic infrastructure is still going on. A lot of funding from the Japan. It's also heavily investing. But here, illicit trade or trafficking, how we are going to relate or how we are going to tackle,
Balance. Yeah.
that's the main point. Here, I have already explained, we have already completed only 10 kilometer in that one, India, Myanmar regions. And there are a lot of porous regions in this country, and we can't completely get one fixed also. There are a lot of issues between the border disputes. And more, it's a strategic, or we should call it as a lifeline for the East policy. So when you look from that one trade parity also, most of the trade are from the Chinese, or we used to call the term called dumping. So Northeast is dumping for the Chinese. That's why we are having that kind of the economic imbalance. Here,
Mhm.
that one illicit trade or trafficking. Obviously, if you do not have that kind of the economic parity with other countries, they are going to dump. And we'll look through that one also in Myanmar also. When you look at one transaction also, it's very less. And most of the product, if you go to the More side, that's market or Napangong area, you will find maximum are made in China and very cheap. I'll give you a simple example. So one of the project that I have already completed under ICSR funded. So in that project, when we do about this one dumping, so electric rice cooker, for example. So in India or in Delhi, it used to cost around 1,400 rupees. The one 2 liters electric rice cooker. But if you go to the More, or if you go in Manipur, you'll find around 600 on an average 400 to 600 rupees. The lifetime is more or less same, but it's a very different. And that one illicit, that's how. And India and Myanmar, or this one and East policy, if you go through, we have roughly 44 classified that one the goods we can transact. But what about the rest of the materials? For example, especially that electronics, or what are this one clothes. Some of the maximum that day-to-day importance goods are not in that agreements, and it's one of the way for their exporting. And this trafficking also have already this one included, because most of the days Myanmar or even this Bangladesh does not have that kind of the proper governance structure, and they have instability. Because of that instability, they are pushing. And Northeast region or India is one of the green pace. So we are, it's there, this we are having that one proper democratic governance, and they do not have, and that's why we have that kind of the opportunity to settle. And in that settle also, most of that one insurgent or separatists or other that one anti-nationalist groups, they are using that kind of opportunity for their threats. So they may use this trafficking. It's not only about trade or goods. You'll find a lot of human traffickings, especially from the Myanmar, Bangladesh, or this one, Nepal also. You'll find maximum used to happen in northeast regions.
The next question, I think you've already sort of answered.
Mm,
That's about the Brahmaputra River. So we'll move
mm.
on to the next one. Do you think non-traditional security threats in South Asia are more interconnected than we realize? And if so, how should that change our approach to them? It's a more general question.
Yeah, yeah. That's I have already also explained. So
I
what?
think yes. You can just briefly, do you
So,
want to like,
so, so that's why I have used a term called transnational or transboundary in nature when you look about human trafficking, because human trafficking is because of their push factor here. That human trafficking may interfere with this or their property or climate change. So in that climate change, property or their this one, all these factors are going to interrelate. So in order to tackle that one, India can't have that one single or very this one myopic or very singular policy. We can't have. We need to take. We need to. I mean, having cooperations that one hand to hand with our neighboring countries.
next question is what natural resources are under the greatest pressure in South Asia and why? Again, a very covering a very broad spectrum, but if you'd like to add something for the
So here, in South Asia, one of the example is that's one I have already used water. Water is one of the biggest weapon nowadays in South Asia. So after having that one Pahalgam at the India also, it may agree or disagree. That's another perspective. India also started using that water as a weapon in order to put pressures against the Pakistan government. At the same time, China is going to use. And in that context, also, we have already having Faraka barriers. Because of the construction of the Faraka barriers, a lot of people already migrated to other places and in India also. So one thing is that one, water. It's one of the main point. Other one is the food security. India is one of the largest productions in terms of wheat or in terms of this one, even the milk or wheats. But we do not have that kind of the proper infrastructures. That's why we already have that kind national security food act. Why? The question is why the government of India introduced national security food act in 2013,
Mhm.
having large quantity of food production. That's one of the, I think, example you can move on.
Okay.
Mm.
Um, in your view, investing in technology, infrastructure, and training for disaster management, cybersecurity, and public health system, or increasing capacity building related activities would help and contribute to resolve the NTS threats in South Asia. So, if these could be the
So
recommendations, which I think you've covered somewhere
yeah,
in
in the
your.
recommendation, so I will give one example is BIMSTEC or SAP. When you
Mhm.
go through the this one main agenda or that one main points or this objectives of the BIMSTEC or SAP, you will find that kind of this one collaboration, disasters management, all the thing you will find.
Yeah. So you've more or less covered to that.
Mm.
Okay. So next question is, what ways does environmental degradation affect agricultural productivity and rural livelihoods?
So
Mm.
here I have already said one is Brahmaputra. It's an every year normally it is to flood, but now it is an unnatural flood. In Manipur also in the last 2 years or in the last 60 years, we do not have that kind of the floods. In the last 2 years, we have back to back to flood and back to back to drought have because of the this heavy there's a forest deforestation in the hilly areas, and I've already explained we have more than 90% are in the hilly and 10% in valley. So most of the hilly area are deforestation. So in the deforestation, those who are living in the rural area and those who depend on the agricultural activities, because most of the region in Indian context also we have more than 60%, sorry, more than 60% they are directly or indirectly related to agricultural activity or agricultural sectors. So if we do not have that kind of proper environmental this one infrastructure, that kind of environmental protections, then how we are going to protect? For example, that's one in the 1960s we have already started green revolution. Nowadays, rather than using the term green, we are started using the term called red revolutions because we are not looking that kind of the underground waters properly. So we already extract more than sufficient. That's why some political scientists or social scientists started using called red revolutions. So that revolution or that kind of the negative is going to impact maximum our farmers or well livelihood.
Is water sharing an issue between India and Nepal? If yes, how does it contribute to political and environmental tensions between the two countries? Want to add?
So as of now, we are having some this one, but when you look from the security perspective, or as of now, we don't have that kind of the too much threats. When you look from the Nepal and India, Nepal, we are having good this one relations with Nepal.
So we have last two questions. We can take it one by one. How effective are regional frameworks? SARC, you have already in your
Mm-hmm.
presentation mentioned about, but
Mm,
just to add to it, in tackling
mm,
environmental degradation.
mm,
SARC, Environmental Action Plan, in
mm.
tackling environmental degradation.
And according to what more can South Asians government
According
do?
to you, what more can South Asian governments do to balance development needs with ecological sustainability, and where the government is lacking?
And here also, so there is two different when you look from the theoretical perspective and when you look from the practical perspective. So non-traditional security expert already explains I mean, we need to have this one cooperations because coordinations and collaborative governance structures when you look from the non-traditional security threats. Here, one of the main issue is because of this modern concept in nation states, we are having different political ambitions and different political priorities. That's why after having that one South Asian regional cooperations, still we can't move on because of different political ambitions, because a lot of different political ideologies. That's why I already started BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC is more or less SAARC minus Pakistan. So in this context, also more or less we need to focus that one achieve. But here one of the drawback I would like to mention about this NTS also, they already explained it's a transnational and transboundary in nature. But how far as a researcher, this one before conclusion, I need to look is we need to explore more theoretical ideas. So ideally it's a good, but how as a policy expert or policy maker, how we are going to, because we can't also at the same time, whatever India is thinking, we can't push or we can't enforce that idea to the other countries also. Well, whatever they are going to bring their policies, we need to collaboration. But how far that collaboration coordinations can bring a very that kind of practical uh, approach. Here, I like to give you a simple example is we need to look more theoretical ideas, explore, and we need to look decoloniality, that kind of idea. That's why I started, everyone is using called indigenous knowledge system or decoloniality, the Western perspective. That kind of theories we need to bring up.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. You ended at a very open-ended and logical concluding note. So, with
Mm.
that, I'll also take the opportunity that you may write or submit an art again and another article for the dialogue on this subject.
Mm.
The research journal currently being published by PPF, an Astha
Mm.
Bharati journal.
Mm.
So, with that, thank you so much, Mr. Singh, for your insightful and engaging talk. You've helped us unpack a complex yet increasingly relevant topic with great clarity and depth. Your perspectives on national non traditional security threats has certainly given us a lot to think about, particularly in the South Asian context, which was missing so far. So, I would like to thank all the participants for joining us this evening and for contributing their questions and reflections. It is always encouraging to see such enthusiastic engagement from young scholars and practitioners alike. On behalf of PPF, I extend our gratitude once again to Mr. Singh and to each one of you. We hope to continue this journey of dialogue and deliberation through more such sessions under the Dareecha initiative. So, thank you, everyone, and have a great evening. Thank you, Mr. Singh.
Mm. Thank you once
Thank
again.
you. Thank you.